Hello everyone and welcome in to this first edition that we're recording of our Fantasy Four Horsemen podcast. I'm here with Karlos Ortiz, Nicholas Romeo and Gil Benhamou.
Benhamou, you're on a roll. Wow, you're
very
back.
sorry. That's going to have to take some time. I'm very sorry. How are you guys doing?
Doing swell.
Doing great.
Pump for the season, you know.
5 drafts later, I'm ready for the season to start, man.
Only 5? I'm at 4.
I am ready for weeks of pizza and wings to be injected into my veins.
Yeah, I think everyone's super excited.
I'm not going there right after this.
Yeah. Well, we're recording on a Thursday. This is 9th of September, so this is going to be the first week of the fantasy football and the regular football season, so we're all super excited. So let's just get into some news quickly. Just before we went on air, Gus Edwards, per Adam Schefter, was reported that he has potentially had a season-ending injury, torn ACL. Devonta Freeman has just been signed to their team as well. So I'm just curious what you guys think. Are you guys on board with Devonta Freeman now? Are you a Lev Bell kind of guy? Are you a Tyson Williams? Like, what are your guys' thoughts for the fantasy output of this?
Honestly, in my opinion over here, I gotta say I don't want any part of Baltimore right now. You know, like, it's very questionable who they're gonna start, when they're gonna start, when they're gonna be the lead man. So I'm gonna stay away from it as much as I can until I figure out who's gonna be the starter there.
Lamar Jackson owners are salivating right now, like myself in another league. But you know, he's gonna have to carry. I pray he doesn't get hurt, but he's gonna have to pull off some MVP type stuff.
For sure.
And you know, there's nobody in that backfield. Like, I don't think Bell or Freeman are really that guy. And that's just it. He's gonna have to carry. He needs passing options because Sammy Watkins and Hollywood Brown aren't it either. The Ravens are kind of a mess.
It's going to be interesting because Tyson Williams was also an undrafted free agent, so I think that also contributes to all of this. They wanted J.K. Dobbins to be the guy, ACL. They want Gus Edwards to be the guy, ACL. Like, those two guys were both products of Baltimore, and I think this guy Tyson Williams is a rookie. You know, these other two guys are, let's face it, washed. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see. And in that same practice, Marcus Peters went down with an ACL injury, apparently back-to-back play. So I don't know what those guys are doing just leading into the season. Are they just nailing each other? I have no idea.
Check those fields, man.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, based on the injuries, and I wasn't in love with the Ravens to begin with. I'm going to tell you flat out right now, fellas, the Ravens are not going to make the playoffs. Ooh. I think this is going to be the Browns' division to win.
Oh, absolutely.
Now that Peters is out, they have no running back field. And for fantasy purposes, outside of Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, I wasn't touching anybody on the Ravens squad. Yeah. So the running back news doesn't do anything for me because I wasn't touching Freeman, Bell, or Williams to begin with. So, you feel bad for the guys that got hurt, but you don't feel bad for savvy fantasy owners who stayed away.
Yeah, I know. I think it's going to be a committee. So, anyway, let's get into the meat of this podcast, guys. So, just before we start, I'm just going to say that we're going to be looking at the expert consensus rankings. We're going to reference ECR. We're going to be going off the Fantasy Pros ECR rankings for week 1. We've got quite a fun episode in store, so we're going to do a start-set episode here, guys. We're going to start off with running back. So what we're looking at here is a running back outside of the top 24 that you would start per the Fantasy Pros ECR. So I'm going to start here with Karlos. Karlos, who's your guy this week? Who are you starting?
So I wish we had the power to put this podcast out the second we finish recording it, because the guy I'm starting outside of the 24, according to Fantasy Pros, he's ranked at 29. It's running back Ronald Jones. Now, is that a sexy name? No. Is Leonard Fournette being there a concern? Sure. But let me tell you, how bad is Dallas's defense overall? Rushing last year, they allowed 2,541 yards on the ground. So you're not expecting a lot from Ronald Jones. I think it's not much to do about him. It's going to be about game script. I don't think the Dallas defense is going to stop anybody. So I'm expecting a big day from Antonio Brown. Believe it or not, that's the receiver I'm targeting right there. I think Gronk is going to have a big day, or Cameron Brate, or O.J. Howard. They don't stop tight ends as it is. Once they get up 2-3 possession scores, you're going to see Ronald Jones just kill the clock, and that's going to lead into fantasy production. Against that type of defense, where last year he had 978 rushing yards, he averaged 5 yards a carry, 5.1 to be exact. give me all of Ronald Jones outside the 24 ranking spot. I think he's way too low for this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I also that over-under in the game, I think, is like 51.5. So there's going to be points scored in this game, and it's not all going to be through the receivers. So,
do you think Leonard Fournette might take a bite into those touches, or
no? I you know what? It's just I don't think. I actually had Leonard Fournette as a cut candidate in training camp. I don't see how much he has left in the tank, which is weird because he's a young guy. But I think they really like Ronald Jones.
Yeah, that's a fair take. Not to mention, they do have quite a loaded backfield with Fournette and Gio Bernard.
Yeah,
it's kind of concerning, but I like that thought.
That's another thing we should mention. We're doing PPR here. We're all in PPR leagues, so that definitely will factor into some of these decisions. So anyway, let's go to Mr. Romeo. Nick, who's your guy this week?
You know what, guys? I'm going to go with a rookie running back here. Javonte Williams out of UNC. Stud rookie running back. Denver grabbed him second, third round just for a purpose here because they want him to be a focal point of the offense. I think he's going to be an excellent play because he's against the Giants. I know Melvin Gordon might be there, but he's not going to be on the field for too long because he has some injury problems. So I think Javonte Williams is going to be a great start with a flex or even running back 2 upside.
Yeah, no, I love Javonte Williams. Yeah,
he's got a lot of potential there.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Gil. Gil, who is your start for the week?
My start for the week, heading into week 1, against the Titans, ranked at 26. I got Chase Edmonds from the Cardinals. I don't think we get a lot of attention onto the Cardinals' backfield. That matchup is pretty good for them. I don't like Connor that much, and I don't know how often he's going to get the ball. And Chase Edmonds just seems like a solid guarantee in that backfield. Who knows how often Kyler Murray's going to be running it himself or slinging the ball to DeAndre Hopkins and the rest of that wide receiver company. But I think Chase Edmonds seems like a solid floor for what they're offering.
Yeah, and he's been there a while, right? Like he's been like they drafted him out of Fordham, which is
and he was receiving touches from Kenny Drake last year too.
Yeah, exactly, and he's a pass catching back. So
yeah,
again,
and how much does James Conner have left? I'm not worried about.
No, he's a bum. I think he's trash.
He's a depth piece at this point. Yeah. So all right, I'm just going to quickly talk about my guy. It's Trey Sermon. They're playing. This is the San Francisco 49ers backup running back. They're playing at Detroit. The main reason, guys, I love this play this week is I love Mostert as well, but I think that San Francisco are going to get up big, and I think when that happens, second half's going to be Trey Sermon, and I think this guy has explosive chops. Like he can break off a play. Mostert recorded the 2 fastest times by any player last year, so Trey Sermon has that similar kind of like build and ability, and I think Trey Sermon, like imagine playing against Mostert, one of the fastest, most explosive running backs in the league, and then you have Trey Sermon coming in right after him. It's going to be horrible. I feel bad for that Detroit team. I think like the line for them to win games this year, I think is 4. I think I'm taking the under. Like I think Detroit are going to be awful. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I personally think Detroit, Trey Sermon will close out this game. So. Okay, next, guys, we're going to go to a running back inside the top 24 that you would sit. So, we're going based on those projections again, and let's go back to Gil for this. Gil.
I'm going to go on the opposite side of what your matchup was. I'm going DeAndre Swift from the Lions. They're playing the Niners. Niners are pretty much revamped on that pass rushing, on that defensive line, really. Nothing seems promising about the Lions, which means they're not going to run the ball because they're just on a negative game script every time. That said, his volume is going to be not that great. He'll probably end up like catching passes, which will be beneficial, but he won't be able to do much else. Outside of that, I don't see much positive note to start DeAndre Swift against a really good defense.
Can I also just mention, I don't know if you guys saw reports today that came out, but there is a possibility that DeAndre Swift might be a suspect in a murder case.
Oh my God!
You guys didn't see this?
No.
This was
go to the Google.
This is something
time
that
to pick up Jamal Williams.
Well, exactly.
Oh
I don't want to spread fake news or anything, but there were reports this morning coming out, and there was one of the Detroit beat reporters kind of talking about he's maybe not considered a suspect right now, but he was questioned at some point. So. Yeah, if that happens, maybe Jamal Williams might be a sneaky play. And it's funny that we think strictly fantasy. Hopefully he's not a murderer, but we go straight to fantasy.
Fingers crossed.
That's what our minds go straight to. So let's go to Nick. Nick, who is your running back you want to sit?
You know what, guys? I'm giving you a hot take right now. A guy inside the top 12 I don't want to play is Austin Eckler, and I know you guys are gonna hate me for it. I know,
I hate
but
you for it. I'm kidding.
I know. But look, you gotta look at it right now. The Washington defense is one of the hardest when it comes to running backs, and he just had an awful hamstring injury last season. He had it re-aggravated it on Wednesday. Even though there's optimism, he's gonna play and he's gonna start. I don't know. I'm very cautious that he's not gonna make it the whole entire game. I say sit him. Maybe you pick up Justin Jackson for reassurance just in case there's a setback before Sunday. That's the guy I gotta sit.
Yeah, I hate hamstring injuries. I hate them. Like, I know they're optimistic to go, but hamstring injuries, there's such an easy chance of re-aggravation. All it takes is one cut, which Eckler's great at doing that. One cut, one bad tackle, and he's out again for potentially 8 weeks. I'm saying this, I have drafted him in 2 out of my 3 leagues, so I'm really hoping he is a go because he's kind of locked in as one of my starters right now. But yeah, anyway, let's go to Karlos. Karlos, lastly, finish us out here with the running backs.
Yeah, so I know he was a popular first round, maybe second round pick for fantasy drafts. I'm not touching Jonathan Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts. He's got a tough matchup this week facing the Seattle Seahawks defense. The Seahawks defense last year was top 5 in rushing. They gave up 1,529 yards. That's less than 100 yards a game. So I just don't. I'm not comfortable with Jonathan Taylor, not just because I don't think he's a great running back. I think he's really good, But the health of Carson Wentz is a problem for me, and if he doesn't start, you're going to go with one of your rookie quarterbacks for Indianapolis. That means Taylor's going to see a lot of 8-man in the boxes. There's not going to be a lot of breathing room. If Quilton Nelson was a little banged up over training camp also, so I don't love Jonathan Taylor this week. Would I take him over the prolonged season? Sure, 17 games. I think you're going to get a lot of production from it, but the over-under on this game is 48.5, according to FanDuel Sportsbook. I think it's going to be a slog, and if it's not, it's just going to be really Seattle with Russell Wilson just cooking, and Indianapolis is going to be throwing catch-up. And again, if it's one of those rookie quarterbacks, there's no way in hell that Jonathan Taylor's going to be eaten this week. So, I don't want any part of that.
I think people are kind of riding the coattails of the end of last season as well, right? Like, Jonathan Taylor probably won people championships at the end of last season. I think that, really has a big impact on fantasy value when people come into a draft and they're like, oh, I remember Jonathan Taylor at the end of last year. Like, he was awesome for me. It's like, yeah, but that's why I didn't draft him anywhere this year, but that's just me. I'm going to go to the Philly and Falcons game. Spoiler alert, I'm a Falcons fan, but I'm picking Miles Sanders here. I can't get. No, I'm not going to say Mike Davis, but I don't like him that much anyway either. But Miles Sanders is one of those guys I also never drafted. My issue with Miles Sanders here is they drafted a really good rookie in Kenneth Gainwell. He has really good pedigree to be a really good receiving back. He was a great utility back in college, and Boston Scott is still there, who also did a great job last year too. I feel like there's going to be a bit more of a split here, and I can't see Miles Sanders producing now. Yes, in fairness, the Falcons don't do great against running backs, but last season, what people don't understand is last season the Falcons did really bad against running backs who caught the ball, not rushed the ball, who caught the ball. And I can see Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell maybe taking the targets away from Sanders, which is why I think that he's probably a sit this week. So anyway, guys, that was awesome. Let's get on to some wide receivers. Okay, let's start with Karlos again here. So who is a wide receiver outside your top 24 that you would start this week?
So I'm going a little lower in the rankings here. I'm staying in the Cowboys-Buccaneers game. I'm going with Michael Gallup. I know a lot of popular picks for the second, maybe third round, if depending on how many teams we're playing in your league, were CeeDee Lamb. And I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be the guy to own for that Dallas Cowboys passing offense. But that's going to leave a lot of opportunity for Gallup, because the way that fans and fantasy players are honing in on CeeDee Lamb, NFL defenses are doing the same things. Mm-hmm. And you got, coaches on the other side in, Jesus Christ, the former head coach for the Jets, Todd Bowles. Yeah. Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator for the Bucs. He's not going to let CeeDee Lamb eat all over him. You're not going to let CeeDee Lamb or Zeke beat you. Prescott, might be able to do his thing, but the beneficiary of that, I think, is going to be Michael Gallup, because Tampa Bay's defense is really, really good, but they're superb against the run. They're sort of average to maybe bottom third of the league in receiving, in terms of passing defenses. So if you're going to focus on Lamb, you're going to focus on Zeke, I think this gives a good opportunity for Michael Gallup in a week one spot in order to get some positive gains out of him. And his over-under is only 51.5 yards. So I think he's going to get over that. If he scores, I think it's going to be a good steal for savvy fantasy owners that played him this week.
Well, what do you think about Amari Cooper, though?
You know what? I've been down on Cooper for the last 2 years. I really almost think he's a glorified decoy at this point. I think he'll be productive, but I don't. If there's going to be anybody in order, I think it's going to be Gallup, and I think CeeDee Lamb will be right behind him as the heels. I don't see a big game out of Amari Cooper. They'll probably put the number 1 guy on him.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, let's head over to Nick. Nick.
Oh, guys, come on. Give me some Robbie Anderson this week.
Love that man.
He is going to go against an awful Jets defense.
Panthers wide receiver 1, by the way.
That's it. That's it. That's right. You got DJ Moore there, and you got other
Revenge
guys there.
game.
But that's it. You got Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson going against their old team. So I think they're going to be solid, especially with the Jets and how they've had woes on defense the last couple of years. I think Robbie Anderson's a must start. He might even put up wide receiver 1 numbers this week. Who knows? But I think he's going to be great. Do yourself a favor and start Robbie Anderson.
I love that take. I was all over Robbie Anderson this week as well. I've drafted him in a lot of places, and I'm playing him. So let's go to Gil.
I love that Robbie Anderson pick. I think he's going to be a stud. I had a couple of thoughts. I was really going to say Odell Beckham, but I'm going to actually switch to that back to that Jets game. I'm going Corey Davis against the Panthers. See, we don't know. That Jet defense kind of looks a little shaky. Corey Davis, I think, has potential to actually ball out. Zach Wilson could be really good this year, and if he's really good, Corey Davis is going to be also pretty good. Will he be serviceable enough to put you in wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 territory? Absolutely not. He's a good wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 into that flex, and I think he'll actually get some good numbers. The Carolina defense isn't, especially that secondary, isn't the best thing we've ever seen. He could get a lot of good deep shots. He can get a lot of good scores. I think he can actually get to the end zone quite once or twice maybe. But the opportunity is there for them. He's got a lot of potential in the Jets.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I have also drafted Corey Davis in a lot of places as well because he was very cheap. He was towards, those 6th, 7th, 8th rounds. Yeah, and he's the wide receiver 1 on his team, and I don't mind the Jets this year. Now Adam Gase isn't there. I don't mind the Jets. And I like Robert Saleh. I like what they're doing there, so I like that pick a lot. Okay, let's go to wide receivers out who are inside the top 24 that you would sit instead. So let's stick with Gil again and go with Gil here. Who would you sit? A wide receiver who is inside the top 24, Gil?
It was kind of annoying because I really like a lot of these receivers, and some of them have some pretty decent matchups. And I think they would, in some instances, seem a little bit matchup proof. But I'm going to go Robert Woods against the Bears. Simple as that. They're playing the Bears. The Bears have a great defense. And I don't know, Woods and Kupp kind of have that 1A, 1B type wide receiver relationship at this point. He's not one that is really head and shoulders above the other. And I think Stafford is going to have trouble throwing the ball, and he'll end up finding other options, whether it's Kupp or Higbee, or he'll end up relying on Henderson to get some extra yards. I don't think Woods is going to be a beneficiary in this game. Yeah. It doesn't look like a good game script for him.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. I like Bobby Trees this year, but I'm not 100% sure he's going to be great this week. So, okay, Nick?
For wide receivers, ranked 12th in Fantasy Pros, I'm going to sit Julio Jones, newly acquired by the Tennessee Titans. You know what? I think the Titans are going to have a great time on offense, but I think Julio's going to be the last beneficiary on that team. I think Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown are going to feast in the first half, and they're just not going to want to take care of Julio. He's going to act more as a decoy. It's going to be a lopsided game. They're not going to need to throw later on. Julio might be have a target in the red zone. Who knows? But I think Julio Jones is probably a sit if you have someone else better on your bench.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, all right. Let's go to Karlos. Karlos, let's hear your take here.
Oh, this was so much easier for me than than who I was going to take outside of the 24. For me, it's almost borderline too because he's only ranked at 21. But I'm sitting Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers going against the Buffalo Bills. Do the Buffalo Bills have an elite passing defense? No, not really. But they got a top 10 cornerback in Tre'Davious White, so that's not a matchup that I'm going to be a fan of. And you take all the factors into consideration. Listen, Big Ben has been a great quarterback over the length of his career. But he's in his 40s. And do I possibly think that Big Bunny's going to throw it, 40 times, 50 times a game? Hell no. Why do you think they drafted Najee Harris?
Yep.
Najee Harris, I could see having a nice game, but this is a brutal matchup for the Steelers. Positional players overall. If you want an alternative to Deontay Johnson, I like Juju Smith-Schuster. I think he could finish a little higher because he won't be facing, the top cornerback for the Bills side. I think he could still have a decent game, but the Bills are one of my darlings for the Super Bowls. I don't think Pittsburgh is going to be able to hang with them, despite the fact that T.J. Watt got paid and they got a little defense on their end too. So I would take Najee Harris for any Steelers, and then I'd probably go Juju. So that leaves not a lot of opportunity for Deontay Johnson on my team.
Yeah, again, I like Deontay, but some matchups are just absolutely brutal for some of these receivers. I'm going to talk about a guy who I was really off this offseason, and that's Adam Thielen. He's still inside the top 24. I don't understand it. I didn't understand when people were drafting him, where they were drafting him. I thought he should go later. I know he has helped a lot of teams. Like years ago, he was way down back in like 2017-18, and he performed really well. But did you guys know that he had 14 touchdowns last year on 74 receptions? That's 1 every 5. Guys, that does not happen.
It's not sustainable.
There is something called touchdown regression, and that is going to happen with Thielen this year. I think people think that he's just going to go do that again. He's 31 years old. Like, he's getting on, and he has an absolute stud who's lining up the opposite side of him in Justin Jefferson, who I think Kirk Cousins loves. Everyone saw how he finished the season last year. I like the matchup against the Bengals. I don't think they're going to be amazing defensively this year, and maybe Jefferson draws a lot of the coverage, and Thielen might be able to squeeze in for a touchdown, but I'm relying on other people. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's
so
a great choice.
We're going to cut to break here, guys, but once we get back, we're going to talk about QBs inside and outside of the top 12, and we're going to do a quick fire, who would you rather, and we're going to fire off some guys to these guys and see who they like. So, we'll be back. Okay, guys, welcome back. We're going to talk QBs this time. We're not going to go 24 because that is way too deep for QB. We're going to go 12. So let's go with a QB outside the top 12 that you guys would start. Let's start with Karlos here.
So we're only talking about week 1 because I'm not going to go crazy and take this guy for the rest of the season. I'm not hitching my wagon to this guy. But for week 1, he's ranked at 22. So you're talking about the bottom half of starting quarterbacks. I'm going to take Jimmy Garoppolo from the San Francisco 49ers.
Ooh, Jimmy G.
Why am I going to pick a guy who's about to lose his job to Trey Lance? Because he's facing the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, a bottom 3 defense in the NFL last year. Did they get any better? No. I mean, I do like Jeff Okudah, but there's way too many weapons in San Francisco for Jimmy Garoppolo to not be successful, at least this week. I'm going to read some numbers very quickly because I'm just enamored with the spreads.
His arm's going to be exhausted from handing off that ball to Sherman and Mostert.
So to score the first touchdown, Mostert's at plus 500. Brandon Ayuk plus 800. Kittle plus 800. Sermon plus 850. We're finally getting to a Lion at Swift at plus 900, and then you round off the 6 options at Deebo Samuel at 950. That's 5 49ers. Yes, granted, I know 2 of them are running backs, but someone's got to get the ball to these playmakers, and that's going to be Jimmy G. As much as I think Trey Lance is going to be the guy ultimately, and I think, I'm a little surprised that he's still getting the nod this week. Jimmy G's got the job. They're not going to pull in Lance in the middle of the game. Give me Jimmy G I think he's going to have a top 10 performance this week for sure, just because the lines are so terrible, and the Niners got some playmakers on that side of the ball that I absolutely love.
I mean, there's a reason that I have drafted Trey Lance in all 3 of my drafts with one of my later picks, because I think he could have that upside. So, yeah, I like the Jimmy G pick. Let's go over to Nick Romeo.
All right, guys. I want to hear, do you like that? You like that today after Kirk Cousins blows up the Bengals. I'm telling you right now, he's got some playmakers on offense with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. Even his running back, Dalvin Cook, catches a screen and can go off for 80, 90 yards. They are so good playmakers over there. The Bengals aren't the best defense. I think he's going to go off for you. If you can do it, I think he's going to be dangerous against the Bengals. I say start Kirk Cousins, baby.
Primetime Kirk.
Yeah, Kirk loves it. Kirk absolutely loves it. Everyone knows that. All right, let's go over to Gil. Gil.
Before I get started, I just want to say how funny it is because I feel like Kirk Cousins never starts the season really well.
Yeah.
But like he like cleans it up. They might, they'll contend for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Anyways, for my pick, it's like right outside the top 12. I'm going Matty Ice, Matt Ryan. They're playing the Eagles. This one is making Jack really happy. I could already tell.
Oh yeah, celebrating.
Look, they still got some weapons after they lost Julio, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, Kyle Pitts.
Mike
some
Davis.
decent pass catchers in the backfield, Mike Davis. And I just think he's got an opportunity. The Eagles aren't any good of a defense. He's got a pretty good opportunity to, light them up, honestly. Again, he's got plenty of targets, plenty of opportunity. I think he really could just light them up.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, no, we've seen huge games from Ryan in the past, and especially when he can really destroy a bad secondary, and Philly have not improved in that area. So, okay, for me, I'm going to talk about Sam Darnold here. Now, 2 years ago, if you had told me I would be talking about Sam Darnold as a start inside the top 12, I would have told you where to go, basically, because him changing over to a new team, I think has been. I honestly think it's a great move for him. He has Robbie Anderson there, who he trusts. He was his wide receiver one in New York. I think the Carolina Panthers. A lot of people are high on DJ Moore. They're high on Robbie Anderson. They think they're going to be good. McCaffrey is the best, one of the best, if not the best, pass-catching backs. He's going to still get his share. And who's going to be passing the ball? Sam Darnold. At the end of the day, the consensus top 12 never finishes as the consensus top 12, right? You always have guys who are like, wow, what a week they had. And Sam Darnold's playing against the Jets. It's his first game for the Panthers, and he's going to say, "This is why you shouldn't have traded me." Like that's what he's going to want to do. So I love Darnold this week. I think he's a great start. Okay, let's go to a QB inside the top 12 that we would sit. So let's go over to Gil again here.
I really think this might be a hot take. Justin Herbert against the Washington football team. Ooh. Listen, Halloween isn't up yet. Now, here's the thing. Herbert's a talented guy. He is absolutely talented. They got a revamped O-line. They got some really good players on their skill positions. The thing is, it's the Washington football team. Mm-hmm. They got some flesh eaters on that defense.
Oh, yeah.
Chase Young is going to go after him.
Yeah.
I am excited to see this matchup. I want to see how well he can handle, and a lot of chances where the pocket's going to collapse. Other than that, look, that Washington's defense is going to give him lots of trouble. A lot of trouble. I want to see how he handles it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's hot takey, but like when you're picking people inside the top 12, you kind of have to be, right? Like because they're there for a reason.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's the thing. Let's go over to Nick here.
And just to go on Gil's point, I even had Austin Eckler as a sit in my spot. So I agree with you. I think the Chargers are going to have a tough time against Washington. But to go back to quarterbacks, I'm going to put it simple here. Matthew Stafford is someone that I don't want to start at least this week because of the matchup. He's facing the Chicago Bears with a tough defense with Mac attack. They're going to be pressuring him a lot. He's in a new offense. I mean, he hasn't had a new offense since he's left Detroit. He's been in Detroit his whole entire career. I think it's going to be a tough matchup for him week one, but I think later on he'll be fine. This week, I sit Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and just so you know, I just saw a little bit of news that Eckler was off to the side again today with his hamstring. So, I mean, they're optimistic for him to go, but I don't know. Anyway, let's go to Carlos. Carlos, who is your quarterback that you want to sit?
Yeah, so I'm not as confident with this pick as I haven't about anything else. So I'm kind of going out on a little bit of a limb, but I don't have him on any of my teams, so I don't have to feel bad if he lights it up. I'm going to go with Russell Wilson for a quarterback that I would sit for the week one matchup, and here's why. The Indianapolis Colts, while they're not a superb defense, they got some playmakers. DeForest Buckner, Kenny Moore. They just signed Xavier Rhodes to get some veteran presence. And I really like the pick that they had in the first round with Kwity Paye, the defensive end from Michigan, which I was screaming that the Giants should have got at 20. I digress.
He fell. He fell far.
Oh, he fell. But, I think it was just more of how the board was good, how it was getting. You saw a lot of cornerbacks go in the top 10. That I didn't expect J.C. Horn to go to the to the Panthers. So he just dropped in a good situation in Indianapolis. I think Russell Wilson will still be successful. I'm not saying completely bench him. I just thinking don't expect
temper expectations.
Yeah, I'm not going to say 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I think that if Seattle gets off to a quick start, which is possible with a defense like the Colts, if they get off to a quick start, you're going to see a lot of Chris Carson. And who here believes that Pete Carroll's finally going to turn over the keys to the car to Russell Wilson after all these years? Pete Carroll just loves to run the ball.
Let Russ cook. Let Russ cook.
They've been begging for him to get in the kitchen for years.
Yep.
Can I also add before we continue? They the Seahawks immediately hit the floor right after Russell Wilson copyrighted "Let Russ Cook."
True. That's true.
That's some bad juju right there.
They started really well last year. I even remember through 8 games. I think
he was
gonna be
30
MVP.
touchdowns. Or
If
something.
they stopped the season right there,
He was
gonna
the
be the
MVP before they decided, no,
100%.
let's go ahead and start running the ball again. And the DK Metcalf is
And
phenomenal.
forced it to Metcalf on double coverage.
Oh yeah. But but Lockett is one of the most inconsistent receivers on the planet. I just there's a lot of things that I don't like about Russell Wilson this week. Although I think he's going to be good during the season, I'm not touching him against the Colts this week.
Yeah, no, I could see it. All right, so I'm going to talk about a QB that is in tonight's matchup. So again, this might be a little late, but I just don't like Dak Prescott. There's something about this matchup with Tampa Bay that I don't really like. I've only got one in all my leagues. I've only got one Dallas player that's going to be playing in this matchup, and that's going to be CeeDee Lamb. I think Dak's going to have an outstanding year. I think he's fully healthy. He's good to go. Everyone's really excited about him. But prime time, Tom Brady, Bucks, I just think they're going to be amazing. I think Dak's going to struggle to get the ball out. Tampa have a good pass rush. I think it's just going to be a tough matchup for him. He's sitting at 10 right now, so I think it's just going to be tough. So, yeah, that's my guy for tonight. Okay, we're going to do a quick fire. Who would you rather? So I'm going to fire out 2 names in the matchup this week, and I want you guys just discuss who you guys would rather. These guys are pretty back-to-back pretty much in projections on the ECR, so I want you guys to just discuss it. So originally, this one I had against a different person. I had Gus Edwards versus DeAndre Swift. I've changed it to Josh Jacobs.
I'll take Swift.
Yeah, we'll take Swift now. Yeah,
I'll take Swift.
He has a healthy ACL, so you would take Swift now. So it's DeAndre Swift against San Francisco and Josh Jacobs versus Baltimore. Both in tough matchups. Who do you guys prefer?
I'm gonna go Swift. Really,
Yeah.
Baltimore still got a good run defense.
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs is so mid. He's just so.
But San Francisco's rush defense is not bad either.
It's not bad either, but Josh Jacobs is so bang average that I can't trust him.
They've also signed Kenyon Drake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys that I potentially said I would start. Because I don't know.
I got a lot of Kenyon Drake on my team. I'm
Yeah.
not a believer. And Josh Jacobs, I think
he's just
I think
so
I think he hit his ceiling already.
Yeah, no, he's average. So average.
But this is a bad.
I don't like it either.
I don't like.
Well, I
either
mean,
of these.
you got to understand, fantasy managers are making these decisions out there. They might have them both. You might have taken Swift and maybe taken Jacobs around later.
He's got
or
a
something.
terrible matchup, but Swift has guaranteed volume.
Yeah, he does.
I'll take DeAndre Swift for simply that reason. Goff is not a great quarterback in his league. He's going to be looking to dump the ball off and screens.
If he
So
doesn't
give me
find
DeAndre Swift.
If he doesn't find Hawkinson, it's Swift.
I think you also got to be thinking about the game too. I think Baltimore versus what was it? Versus
the Raiders.
Versus the Raiders is going to be a much closer game than San Fran versus Detroit.
That's true.
So I think DeAndre Swift's not going to be really a factor when they have to throw the ball. I think Josh Jacobs and the combination of Kenyon Drake could actually be a beneficiary for Josh Jacobs. So
I like it.
I think I'm going to go Jacobs on this.
Okay, Nick, respect. Okay, we'll go 2 more running backs here. Darrell Henderson versus the Chicago Bears or Damian Harris versus the Miami Dolphins. Both back-to-back in projections, both just outside the top 24. But again, both guys that people had to make decisions on who to draft. I did this many times. I was sat there and it was Henderson versus Harris, and most of the time I picked Henderson because I like attaching myself to better offenses. But in this matchup, this is a brutal matchup for Darrell Henderson, I think. So, who do you guys take?
I'm going Harris, and here's the thing. I took Harris over Henderson in a draft or two, and I'll tell you why. The thing with the Rams is you trade for Matthew Stafford. You're going to be in an offense where they're slinging that ball. They're throwing it most plays. Although Cam Akers was going to have the volume, Henderson looks like he'll be that guy. You don't know how often he's going to get the ball.
Yeah.
Matt Stafford's in a position to be throwing it most of the time.
Yeah.
Now, the Patriots just cut Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Mac Jones is the guy. Now that gives so much fantasy options for Patriots players, which is something we've rarely seen in quite some time. Yeah.
But Ramondre Stevenson, I like the look of this guy.
I don't know. Like the guaranteed floor for Damian Harris right now, you don't know if he'll exceed expectation, but he's going to guarantee you probably like 12 points a game.
Yeah, but
and that's sufficient.
My issue would be if Ramondre Stevenson would come in on the goal line. That would be my issue, because Damian Harris is a smaller back, and this Stevenson is a bowling ball. He's huge. He's like a LeGarrette Blount in light.
But how many times do you see situations where Damian Harris is going to end up catching passes as well?
That's true. Yeah, it's true.
You also have a problem with Henderson because Sony Michel also might be taking
That
care
bingo.
of him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a perfect idea right there. That's it.
Yeah, for that reason alone, it does go down to one Patriot running back, but not Harris himself. Sony Michel is the bigger factor to me for Darrell Henderson's production. If McVay really had the confidence in Henderson to be the guy, especially after losing Malcolm Brown in free agency to the Dolphins, and with Cam Akers going down, I don't think they would have made that trade. Mm-hmm. But because they did, it tells me a lot. Maybe they kind of have confidence in him, but no, I'll take Damian Harris over Sony over what's his face, because I don't even remember his name. All I got is Sony Michel in the brain now.
Henderson.
All right, okay, we're gonna go to wide receivers now. I'm gonna give you guys 2 second-year wide receivers: T. Higgins versus Minnesota, or Brandon Ayuk at Detroit.
Oh, this is easy.
Oh yeah, this
is
really
easy.
I'm not gonna give any.
Was just the at Detroit?
It's Brandon Ayuk. That's the
Absolutely.
answer.
Let's go.
Did at Detroit just give it away? Is this going to be, guys? So I think if we're going to be doing start sits in the future, if there's a game against Detroit, just pick those players.
Absolutely.
Just play them all, right? Like I think that's going to be a common
the message
denominator.
Of this whole podcast is if they're playing the Lions,
okay,
you gotta take that guy.
Guys, if you have players who are playing against the Lions, play them.
If it's Jimmy G or Trey Lance throwing the ball, I love Brandon Ayuk this year, man.
Start Trey Lance this week, 100%.
Tremendous upside. The thing with Ayuk is he's got tremendous upside.
Yeah.
Tremendous upside.
I still like T. Higgins. I don't want to disrespect T. Higgins.
I think he's going to ball out this season
as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That was an easy one. We'll go over to this one I like a lot. So we're talking about another guy who's starting tonight, Antonio Brown, who I think is already going to be Carlos's pick, or Jerry Jeudy at New York. I like Jerry Jeudy.
Stop.
Yeah, no, this might be a little bit easier than you think. AB.
Yeah, AB.
I'm gonna go AB also, and here's why. I think Jerry Jeudy is gonna have a bounce back year, but a lot of people are completely fading the Giants' defenses, and I don't get it.
No, you're absolutely right. They're slept on. They're very slept on. That's
secondary is really right? James Bradbury, Logan Ryan. They signed Adoree Jackson from Tennessee. I like the Giants' pass defense.
I just have a quick question, just for the listeners out there. Carlos, which team do you support?
That's neither here nor there.
Hey, look. We're agreeing with him, and that's the important thing.
No, I'm only messing.
I just think for this matchup, I think that, again, the Giants' defense, it's severely slept on. It's underrated. I think they're going to be a lot better than people think. Do I think they're automatics to win this division? No, hell no. They're probably the third best team in the NFC East, if I really want to be honest about it. But I do like that defense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get over to quarterback quickly, close us out. Justin Herbert at Washington, Matthew Stafford versus Chicago Bears. Who do you guys prefer here?
Probably have to side with Herbert, just because Stafford, that Bears defense is still a little more intimidating.
Yeah,
I'm going Herbert as well. Just for the offense itself. You have amazing players there. Herbert's going to be even better than he was his freshman year.
Yeah.
I think Herbert's a good start.
Herbert just has more talent around him, I think.
I'm going to go contrarian. I think Stafford's going to show up. I think he wants to set the tone early. I like Stafford.
I like it. Okay, I like the contrary view. All right, guys, that's it for today. That's closing us out. This has been a lot of fun. We're going to try and maybe record once a week at least, just for this next week. Just this season. We might try and increase it to 2, but we really appreciate it, guys. I realized I didn't introduce myself at the start. I'm Jac Hopkins. This was Karlos Ortiz, Gil Benhamou, and Nick Romeo, and we really appreciate you guys listening, and thank you, and tune in again. Thanks, guys.